All right, gals and girls, what is going on? Girls and gals, welcome to episode number 29 of the KFO show, Kayak Fishing Obsessed. If you love kayak fishing, fishing in general, you are in the right place tonight. I have bowfin junkie, myself, lost in tackle, low life angler, and bucktail fishing. This is quite the motley crew we have going on tonight. And what I did is I asked everybody to bring their top 5 bass fishing lures, and we are just going to absolutely geek out. How you fish them, when you fish them, the colors, retrieve tricks, everything they know about some of their top confidence baits. And so we're going to bring those on here in just a little bit. If you're listening in a podcast, guys, we're pushing 650 listens per episode. That's competing with the YouTube reach. And so it's like neck and neck right now. So if you're out there on the podcast, thank you so much for listening in. I'm starting to hear a little bit feedback coming from those who listen just to the podcast because maybe they can't make it to the live or maybe they're not on YouTube. So thank you guys so much. Feel free to reach out. One of my promises this year is if you reach out, I'm going to honor that and take time to respond back to you because I love every single one of you. Tonight, got the Cast Cray giveaway. So anybody who becomes a channel member, and my channel members, I kind of go the extra mile for. Some of my guests tonight are channel members. Really, it's a way they help support the channel and everything we do here. And also, I go the extra mile. We have a bunch of discussion behind the scenes. I let out some of my content early. So if that's something you're listening to, interested in, you can head over to my channel on YouTube at Wendell Fishing and check out all those different tiers there. All right, guys, the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series is my first month tournaments almost up. And so let's go head over to Fishing Chaos. I'm going to give you a top 5. So if you're not familiar with the Knucklehead, it's really the entry level type of tournament for kayak bass fishermen. And so essentially what you need is catch at least 5 fish for the month over 12 inches. And if you catch one that's, beats your lowest one, it'll replace it. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to head over there, fishingchaos.com, and check out Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. But if you win one of the 1-month tournaments, and I got 4 of them going on, you win a chance to join my team. And we're going to go down to Lake Gunnersville, Lake Wheeler on Veterans Day weekend and fish off against a smorgasbord of other team anchors and their teams that are also winning tournaments. And so fishing with Gramps, Hoover, Fluke Master, Larry Milton Jr., the Aggressively Average Anglers, Alex Rudd, Clay Guida, like the list keeps on growing, and I'm super pumped about it, and we are close to having our first team member. So look at the top 5, and Tammy Sanchez came out of nowhere. This morning I had a conversation with Brian Slayton and Greg Massa, and they're kind of, because you'll see here in a moment when I explain the numbers, Fishing with Gramps and myself is in the top 5, however, we don't count. Because we're anchoring our own teams. We're just kind of doing that for fun. Tammy Sanchez, 98.25 inches. And everyone would be thinking, oh, Florida. No. New Hampshire. She's bringing the heat from New Hampshire. Brian Slayton, 94.5. That's the Creek Crawler, if you guys follow him on YouTube. Fishing with Gramps at 93.5. I'm at 93. And Greg Massa's at 92.75. And it wouldn't surprise me that if while we're on the show, you guys start seeing these numbers go up, because I know some of these guys are fishing right now. So that's kind of where we're at there on the Knucklehead. If you have not signed up and hearing a lot about it, you can sign up for June. $15 entry. You just need a catch board. You can catch it from the kayak and catch it from the bank. And so I'd love for you to be a part of that. Just go to fishingchaos.com, type in Knucklehead, and you will see all the details there. All right, guys, remember this is an interactive live show. I'm going to invite my guests on. We got Low Life Angler, TJ, my man, Bowfin Junkie, Bucktail Fishing, and then Lost in Tackle. Where you at, Lost in Tackle? He's there, but he's not showing up. Bucktail running the last minute there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Literally off the water, barely had time to strap my kayak down and driving faster than I should have been.
He gave me a text like, hey, I'm having trouble in the river. I might get there in time. And he showed up in between the time I started the show and the time that I just brought him on just now. So welcome. Glad you're there. So
Good to be
Guys,
here.
thank you. Well, I love this show because a lot of times I'll bring like people who know, like that people know, right? They have maybe a larger following on YouTube or even do YouTube. I know some of you guys don't do YouTube at all, and so I wanted to pick the brain of some guys who are out there just killing it, and want to pick your brain and see what top 5 lures that you guys are using out there that you're nailing them with. And so I'm gonna start there instead of like going. We'll go off the rails probably a little bit later, but let's hop right into the meat of this thing. And what I want to do is I want to start with like your least favorite, even though it does well for you, and we'll end with your number one lure and really geek out. I want to know, how do you fish them? Where do you fish them? The season you fish them in, the colors you like and why, sizes, retrieve tricks, nuances to the bait. I think you guys get the picture. So, Jake, you're going to get the honors since you're the most recent one to flip their kayak. You knew it was coming.
Yep.
You knew it was coming. First, tell the story. Give us the moral of the story, and then hop into your number 5.
So everybody says it's not going to happen to them, right? Well, it happened to me. There was a big giant log that was like kind of sticking up out of the water like this, and the water level's down here, and it's like well above my head. Flipped the square bill over, got caught on the other side of the log like I always do. You know, I catch more trees than fish. Paddled over to the log, stood up like I always do in my kayak, and grabbed a hold of the log to swing myself around to the other side to get my lure off. And the log was so old and decrepit, and it broke right in half. Fell on top of me, knocked me over, broke my seat, flipped the kayak, all my stuff. About 7 foot of water and water that you couldn't see. It was like 2 inches of visibility in. Probably about 55 degrees. So I wasn't swimming. Jumped in my kayak, and that was pretty much my day. Went back like a week later, got all my stuff back besides my carbonite catchboard and my glasses, my eyeglasses that I need new glasses anyway. So
there you go.
I got all my stuff.
Telling yourself.
What's that?
At least that's what we're telling ourselves.
Yeah.
So, moral of the story, what do you got there? Because I even think it like, no way it's happening to me. You think,
Yep.
I got really good balance, and because of that, there's no way I'm tipping my kayak. But
Exactly.
It's the freak things,
Yep.
like what happened to you.
Like I didn't expect a giant, 30, 40 pound log to fall on my chest. So you just got to be careful. And it was an experience. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Chuck Jones, like, hey, where are you fishing if the water's 55? Yeah, where were you fishing? This was only a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was around 55 degrees, maybe closer to 60. But my fish finder at that moment, it said 55 degrees. So
wow,
that was the deepest part of that lake was probably about 7 foot of water, which is where I was at. Everywhere else, it's like 3 to 4 foot.
Moral of the story.
Moral of the story. Tether your gear. Tether your gear. That's 100% it. I went out and I bought, 18 different tethers, and I got lines hanging all over my boat, but it's worth it. So
no, I don't know why I haven't learned this lesson either, because after you told me that story, you literally like texted me and you were soaking wet. You're like, I just flipped the kayak. And I'm like, are you okay? And then once you're okay, and then we chuckled a bit about it. Literally a week later, I'm like, hey, I just lost my GoPro. And it wasn't tethered. And so there went a couple $100 in 23 feet of water. And I'm like trying to like magnet fish this thing. It's there for life. So that's gone. Cooler lid. You've been baptized by the Church of Kayak Fishing. Hope you had your PFD on.
Sure did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
the second moral of the story. Wear your PFD.
Yeah, because when stuff hits the fan, it goes fast.
Yep.
All right, brother. Hit us with your number 5. What do you got for us?
Number 5. It's kind of
All
it's my OG, very versatile. I've caught crappie. I've caught catfish. My very first bass in Ohio, which is only last year. It's just a chartreuse jig head. Maybe you can't see on that side. It's all beat up. And a little paddle tail, a little Kydex paddle tail.
There it is.
Actually, I think this is a Zoom. Look, just a pearl with a little chartreuse jig head for like a half ounce. And I've caught just about everything on here. I've caught a 16-incher. I don't really fish as much anymore, but I've caught pretty much everything. So I had to include it. This is like my OG. This is my very first lure I picked up. This is it.
All right. First 5. So what do you fish that on?
Medium heavy, medium. Actually, I usually fish it on my spinning rod now. So it's a medium, I think 7.2, fast action, maybe like, I think 10-pound fluoro.
It sounds like it's on the way to retirement. Why?
Well, I mean, I'm moving on to bigger, better things.
Ooh, come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Getting that mag draft in the mail here soon. Yeah. So
that might be in my lineup. That's gonna be good.
Yep. So that's on my honorable mentions, if you will say.
All right. You're making up your own stuff now. I like it.
Yep.
All right. That's your number 5. Let's go ahead. And I don't know if everyone's looking at it the same way, but I got bucktail next. Bucktail, tell us where you're fishing at. We know Jake's in Ohio. Tell us where you're at. Let us know what kayak you're using, and then hit us with your number 5.
All right. I live in South Central Pennsylvania, Chambersburg. I fish mostly the local area around here. I also fish in Maryland some. Today I was in Maryland over near Frederick fishing the Monocacy River. I have 2 kayaks I use depending on where I am. I have a Perception Pescador Pilot 12 with pedal drive. That's where I fish lakes mostly. And then I've got my old Ascend 12T that I use on the river and whatnot, so I'm not busting up my pedal drive. My number 5, I'd have to just go with a jerkbait. Size just depends on what it seems like the fish want that day. Colors, I keep it pretty simple, either white or there's a lot of yellow perch in the places I fish, so sometimes I put on one that's got that yellow perch color to it. I just play around with how aggressive I'm being with the retrieve, just see what the fish like, and then try to dial in on it. I usually never go into it knowing right off the bat. Fishing jerkbaits is, I'm pretty new to it. I just started doing it last summer, so I'm still figuring that one out.
Where have you found the most success on the retrieve? Because you can do a ridiculous amount of retrieves with the jerkbait. I mean, do you really get into it, like snapping the line, or do you just, sweep, let it stop, hit the pause? What do you got going on?
Last year on a lake up near Altoona with one of my friends, the one who gave me the nickname Bucktail, by the way, we were fishing it up there and just working it so hard that your wrists want to fall off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just wanted it as aggressive as possible. It was a windy day, lots of chop on the water. Now, last Saturday, I was at another lake where it was just 1 or 2 mild pops and then just let it stop, let it float up a little bit, give it a couple little more mild pops. And they were hitting on that, was working a ledge outside of a grass line. And so far, that's all I figured out on it. I'm sure I'll learn more as I go.
Yeah, I recently just made a post. Since the jerkbait is not in my top 5, I'll do a little ad lib here. The jerkbait did well for me here in the spring. I feel like I see a bunch of videos on YouTube like, oh, fish this in the spring. That's because you can make a video on any lure in the spring and say that it catches fish, because fish bite everything in the freaking spring. But what I've noticed with the jerkbait, of course, whenever the shad start spawning and I get like shad balls. Jake, were you and I on a shad ball when we were fishing together? I think we were throwing that jerkbait, and man, it was that's one of the times where I bring it out. Or I start getting desperate and they're not hitting anything else. I'm like, all right, I'll go minnow. We'll see what happens. But it performed time and time again, especially in the shad balls, where a lot of other things just simply weren't. And so, like I said, I just had to find the size of the shad. Sometimes they're like shad, depending on the shad, there's a minnow ball or shad ball. I kind of call them all the same thing, basically fish balls. And so I'm just trying to dial those in. So yeah, I had a question here from Cooler Lid for you, Bucktail. Are you throwing those 2, your particular colors, in dark water?
I haven't had the occasion to throw them in dark water yet, so that's another one I'll have to figure out. I've got a few other colors in the tackle box I haven't picked up and used yet, but if I get into some muddy or stained water, then I'll try some different colors.
You telling me that river's clear?
The Monocacy was crystal clear today.
Really?
We haven't had any big rains or anything in a few weeks, so water's a little low, and I mean, I probably spent 20 minutes today with a couple of different things, just throwing them in the shallow water in front of me and working them a little bit just so I could see what they were doing.
Yeah.
Just the water was so clear. I'd say, what the hell, why not see what it looks like to the fish a little better?
Hey, and if you're going to be late for the KFO show, there's only one reason why you can be late. It's because you were fishing. So you get a pass there. Yeah. All right.
We had a dang good day.
Did you? Well, we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
You put fish on the board?
I put one on the board, 14 and a quarter smallmouth.
All right.
I caught a 15 and a half. I got it in the kayak, and it was a rowdy fish.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, flipping around. I finally got it to calm down, got it on the board. Okay, 15 and a half. I get out my camera as I'm unlocking my camera. It flips into the bottom of the kayak, so I wrestle with it a little more, finally get it back onto the board. 3 fingers on it, holding it down. And I mean, as my thumb is on its way down to take the picture, it flips again off my left side of my kayak into the water.
Of course.
And I wanted to weigh it too, but that was down to 2.
You didn't get the picture?
I didn't get the picture.
Oh.
I mean, my thumb was on its way down to the button when it flipped off.
Similar problem yesterday. I lost an 18-incher down the center hole of my kayak. Right as soon as I was going to take the picture. Yes, yes.
Why was that open?
Well, that's where my pedal drive goes into, and it's a slight little gap, and it wiggled its way down in there. I tried grabbing the tail, and I'm like, no! Of all places, right?
He barely fit through it. Oh my goodness, hilarious. I've of course heard him flipping over the side, but never through the pedal drive hole.
I didn't think it was possible, but apparently my foot's going there next time. Like,
I know it was an 18-incher.
Yeah, you live and you learn. Oh yeah, it was 18 and a quarter.
Oh,
yep. That's the reason why I'm kind of down on the list.
Oh, that's the reason. One fish. Yeah, I got it. All right, Ben, hit us. Where are you from? And
I'm from South Jersey.
All right, right on.
I actually had a similar problem the other day, but when the fish jumped, it knocked my identification card off the board before I could get the picture because I was having problems with the phone being wet. I was out fishing with my son. It went gone. I tried to get to it. I had something to write stuff on. I had no utensil whatsoever.
Oh,
I thought about taking some bait mate and trying to do it on the back of a card, but
he was looking out for his buddies. That's what he was doing. He's like, "Hey, not today, not for anybody."
Did you at least have it, waterproof little Ziploc bag or something?
No.
Calling you out.
Learn that lesson.
Well, I had 2 of them with me too, so I had a backup, and they were both connected. So,
yeah. Moral of the story. Don't even need to say that one. But hey, you know what? Yeah. I love these stories. I have yet to have one fly out of my boat. They've jumped. Yeah. Of course, the small ones, they're the ones that get rowdy, right? You're 15 and below.
Okay.
Your fat ones are like, and they don't have enough like gumption to get the entire body weight.
I got a board story, but it's on my board story be on my number 2 pick, so I'll wait on that one.
All right, you hold that one. Ben, from Jersey, what kayak that you have? Then hit us with your number 5.
Oh, I have whichever side that's on. The Lifetime. It's a Tamarack version. No, it's a teeter boat.
Yeah.
But it's fun. But it's mostly more about playing with it and adding things to it, I think.
All right. So you like all the mods?
Yeah.
It looks like you have way more poles. You get more like geeked out. I mean, you are lost in tackle, so that makes sense.
There's some surf rods up there, as well as some deep sea rods.
Got it.
And like my neighbor just gave me an ultralight that he had in his shed. I pick up garage sale things. I have a couple of push button ones around here somewhere.
Where are you from again, you said?
South Jersey. About 15 minutes away from Philly.
Very cool.
Nice.
A lot of surf fishing, I bet then.
But that's
All
an
right.
hour away. I get together with my dad, do some surf fishing like once a year. He grew up in the Atlantic Highlands, so he's all about saltwater fishing.
Oh yeah, I grew up in South Florida. That's we did that a lot. We fished with bottles, Gatorade bottles, off the side of bridges, and it was great. Good times.
I lived in South
I
Florida
actually-
for a little while.
Yeah.
I've only been bass fishing for like 2 years. I grew up as a kid doing some like deep sea fishing with some old bait casters, and the rod my dad gave me, I come to find out it's not even meant to fish with. It's to set up other rods with, and that's like the third one.
Nice.
But I had fun doing that, and when I got my first nest in my bait caster, it was no problem picking that out. I had no problem doing that, so it was a good benefit there.
There you go. All right, hit us with your number 5.
Number 5, I don't have any, but it's a Texas rig and Cincos. Just because
Okay.
I stopped fishing Cincos last year because the first couple of bites I got Cincos on, and then I just started dragging a Texas rig behind me and fishing everything else.
So you're
anything that
dragging one
had
while you're fishing a second.
Oh yeah, I've had to really adapt differently for this month of fishing, and not having multiple lures in the line just hanging off here or dragging behind me, or forget that I was trolling it.
Right. All right. So you're dragging
You
the
look back.
Texas rig Senko behind you.
Weightless.
Weightless.
I caught so many just trolling last year.
Yeah.
And it's really that dark green color lures.
Yeah. I mean, fishing with Gramps was this on last week, and he was talking about the Texas rig Senko, and he's just absolutely smashing them on it. And they set the hook on themselves then if you're trolling, and you're just paddling, right?
I've had fish jump out of the water, and I didn't know I had a fish.
You even had it on there. That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
It's always a surprise when you're reeling it up, and it's a little tiny little perch that smashed your giant square bill that can't even fit its mouth. You have no idea. I love trolling. It's great.
There Gramps is. He's on the show. Weightless Texas rig is the jam.
Is the jam.
All right. TJ, tell us where you're from. And the yak you got.
I'm from Kingston,
and then hit us
Ohio.
with your number 5.
It's in between Circleville and Chillicothe.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Swim
We
bait.
got a lag.
It's a power bait.
All right.
Ooh.
TJ, we're having we see it, but we're having a hard time. Your audio is not coming through, which is a big bummer. So I'm not going to
my
kick you
audio's
off.
not coming in?
No, I mean, no, it wasn't until just now.
I've been loving those things.
You hear me?
All right. Well,
Those little Berkeley pre-rigged
Yeah.
jig swim baits. I was looking for swim baits, and that was the best
Yeah.
deal.
I caught crappie, catfish. The big one was a 2-foot hybrid striper bass, but it snapped by my seat, so I didn't have a net. So it was just a light rig, 8-pound braid. So that's why I should have had it on my bigger pole, but these, and they got different collars.
nice. It almost looks like a dark sleeper almost, at least from what you're showing me, but larger.
Yeah, I
All
got them too. These things work. Here's my newer little toy for close to the swim bait. I never really got in the water yet. That's Trace.
Oh, you got the
6
trace.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Creek crawlers. Yeah, creek crawler told me to get these, so I haven't really gotten in the water yet.
Okay, you're not the only one that has one of those on the way. I have a 3D or whatever, 4D or whatever they call it, bluegill on the way. I
That's
was
the
hoping to
slowest-
get it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I was hoping to get it here before my trip this weekend, but
that's
they're a
like
little slow to get those out the door. All right, I'm going to move on to number 5.
I've
TJ.
actually found one up in Lake Erie at a shop.
Oh, there you go. So you didn't have to wait for it. All right, there's pretty bad lag between by the time I ask you a question and the response time. So it's a bummer there. But I'm gonna hit you guys with my number 5. It is, there you go, bowfin.
Right.
It's the mag draft from Mega Bass.
Oh yeah.
And I was fishing this hole on one of my favorite lakes, and this guy was throwing an 8-inch, and like within a second he caught a 3-pounder. I was like, what in the world? What are you catching with? He's like, oh yeah. And the 8-inch, that thing is monstrous. And you might think to yourself, how in the world is anything hitting that? So I ordered one and kind of bit the bullet, because these boys are expensive. The 8-inch ones are like, the shipping is going to cost you $30. And so I grabbed it, and every time I've thrown one of those, typically how I'll use it, I put on 18 fluoro, medium heavy, fast action rod, and lower gear, because with these, it's really a slow. It's nice because the head kind of wobbles back and forth. It's got a fantastic action in the water, but if you go too fast, it will roll and kind of turn the fish off, because it doesn't look natural anymore. But this is the 6-inch, and I think I've even caught some on the 8-inch with bowfin fishing with me. And I don't think I've caught anything under a 2-pounder that would hit the 8-inch. And I actually just had a 28-inch catfish. If you check out my shorts today, I think that was it. It hit the 8-inch mag draft. I thought I had my personal best for about 15 seconds. It was that, and I never thought a catfish would hit that thing, but it was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you thought.
Yeah, I did. Did not have it. But the unique thing about the mag draft, what they call it, the mag, because there's a magnet on his belly right here. And so you can like shove the hook and kind of hide it up there. And then when it comes out, you have your line connected to the top, and it can't use the bait to throw the hook, which is kind of nice. I don't know if you guys can see that. And so this thing will wiggle all around, and it can keep swiveling because it's on a swivel here. And so you can keep that fish pinned, and which I really like. This is why I really like the mag draft. So big fan of. You will notice in my entire lineup, I do not have lures. I do not fish lures that are unnatural colors. Period. I just don't have them. Don't fish them. I don't know if I will. Neon yellows, for some reason, I've just had so much luck with natural colors. And kind of what you see on the bluegill and those patterns, that's what I primarily use. So I have a lot of clear waters where I fish as well. I mean, the worst it gets is semi-stained. And maybe the most unnatural color I'll use is like blue, but it's like the black and blue, but we'll get there in a moment. So that's my number 5. Number 4, Jake, Bowfin Junkie. What do you got?
Number 4, let's see. I got my wife just got home, so she might walk in here and not know what I'm doing. So just a heads up. Tell me to take the trash out or something. But I got the buzzbait, War Eagle buzzbait. It's a non-click version. I think this is a half ounce, maybe a half ounce, with a little, just a little green pumpkin with some silver fleck, paddle tail, two paddle tail on as a trailer. Just kind of rigged it kind of like a swim bait here.
Yeah.
And I've been getting the topwater bite, even after the even in the post spawn. So this thing is it's pretty cool. I had to include it. I don't fish a lot of topwater, but I mean, this is just fun to throw. This thing goes a quarter mile. It's relatively easy to, just keep it on top of the water, just keep a rod tip up, and it's just pretty much one steady retrieve back. You can let it fall, I guess, a little bit from what I've read, but I mean, I've always just had them smash it right on top of some matted cover, and this thing works awesome. This little wire guard right here just acts as a natural weedless, little wire guard, and this thing smashes.
Nice. I rarely fish. I have a War Eagle, It's in my lineup, but I
Feels
usually
like a
go.
tank.
Huh?
It feels like a tank. Like this thing. I've had other little buzz baits, and they just felt like you just touch them and they'll bend. You know, this thing is a tank.
See, if I'm fishing, if I want that action on top, I mean, the closest thing for me, I always go whopper popper or Chapo, and so I never get past not using that to fish a buzzbait. All right, solid.
I like this because you can kind of like a frog, throw it right on top of some matted cover. You don't have to worry about it getting.
That's true.
You
Hooks
know,
up,
Yeah,
not treble hooks
yeah. I like the
down.
whopper popper, but that's more for like open water type of situation, or maybe along some like edges or whatever. But this you could just throw right on top. I love it.
All right, solid. Bucktail number 4. What do you got for us?
Ned rig.
Ooh, yes. We're gonna be double up on that. I have a feeling.
Yeah. I just started fishing the Ned rig last season. One particular lake I fish. It's a very, very clear Highland reservoir. And other than first thing in the morning and very late in the evening, you really don't find any fish in shallow water. So I started looking around at different deep water rigs and came across the Ned rig. Like you, I keep it natural with the exception of on the rare occasions it's stained or muddy. I go to a June bug. I left my Ned bag in the truck when I rushed in, so we'll just take this Senko and there, now it's TRD.
Just bite it on. Can you just bite it in half? That's what I want to see right now.
Yeah. I use various weights and styles of jig heads for it, depending on how deep I'm trying to get. And in that particular lake, sometimes I'm dropping 20, 30 feet of water. And 9 out of 10 times, I just slow drag it, let it click off the rocks. I was watching one Fluke Master's video, and I think it was Fluke Master. He was talking about swimming a Ned rig.
Yeah.
And I tried that a little bit today with a June bug TRD tickler. Caught a couple of smallmouth on the river. I think my technique needs some more refining to really make that one effective.
Nice. So TRDs. Anything else? Or you basically stick with Z-Man?
I basically stick with Z-Man.
Yeah.
It's just easily available locally. So
yeah,
I've got a Sportsman's Warehouse 2 miles from my house. So
solid. SGT's writing in. He says, Wendell, you should look up Pat McCullen. I think I've looked this up before. He said he was accountant by trade, but caught over 1,000 10-pounders on a black buzzbait. All right, maybe I don't. I feel like I've looked up Pat McCullen before, but I don't know the rest of that story. So,
I'd give anything for one, just one.
Yeah, right.
1 10-pounder.
Yeah. Chuck Jones. He loves me some Ned. Cooler lid. The deadly Nedley, man. It's like a Visa. Can't leave home without it. Love it. All right. Ben, hit us with your number 4. What do you got?
I like the frogs. They're
so enjoyable.
They're so enjoyable to fish. Well, I have this nice little Walmart style one.
Yeah.
I put some blue on the bottom. But
you painted it.
I some Sharpie.
Okay.
And there's a little weird eye on there. But I actually got my first frog fish yesterday on this guy. But the frogs are just fun to fish because you don't have to deal with all the hookups and snags and BS.
Right. So what do you fish it on?
I'm on board with that.
Well, I just got a heavy rod. I just got a really nice Shimano SLX, which is my best rod I have by far. And last year I missed 9 bites with a frog.
Ooh. Ouch.
And I started like counting Mississippi out loud. Just so I would wait a little bit and then go for it. But I think the rod really made a big difference. I've had a couple of bites on it this year, but before I went out with this one, I actually did pull up the hooks a little bit.
There you go. Yep.
You know, just a hair.
Cooler Lid AP
Nothing.
says, do do you boil your frogs? I've actually heard that's a very good thing to do. I don't really frog fish. I want to get into it, but it's supposed to soften that plastic up a bit.
I haven't done any of that with this one. It's you can feel soft ones and you can feel harder ones, and with this one, if I gave it too big of a jerk, it would dip down, but then it also did the same thing. It would dip down if one of them just like grabbed it a little bit, and then I'd come back and it was filled with water. You know, that was the reason I pulled the hooks out right there, though. You know, if you're getting bites and they're not filling with water, then I would imagine they would probably be too hard.
Yeah. Any particular rationale for the colors, or?
I have heard from many different YouTube videos, the black is what you want to go for frogs.
All right.
And this was the first one I finally got a hook on.
Yeah. I just recently took a frog out for some fun, and I have a whole package. I haven't fished like half of them, but like everybody, I have a ton of them for some reason.
I got some birthday money. I have a whole little chest. Some of them haven't even touched the water.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The one I have that I'm probably gonna hook up this weekend when I go to the trip down south in Ohio is the scum frog, because it is just so soft. Regardless, like you don't have to boil it or anything. I mean, it's hardly anything's there. JT's like, hey, you can boil it or leave it on the dash of a hot truck, or so he's told. That thing melt all over your dash. Gramps.
The little skirts on the bottom.
Oh yeah,
just stuck to the bottom.
So good.
I got a black one on some like clearance steel, and it was so soft, it wouldn't even hold the hooks behind it.
Oh,
and I'm looking around. I think I actually just threw it out because I was like, this is useless.
If you're looking for a soft one and you're like, hey, you don't know, right? Because they're in a package. And I'm not affiliated. I don't get any kickback or anything. But Cask Ray, I have one of their purple nurples, and I really like the texture. It's firm enough that it has some weight to it, right? So you can get it out there, but soft enough that you don't have to worry about, pulling the thing out of the bass's mouth without getting that hook set. So
all right. I couldn't even figure out how to cast the Lunkerhunk frogs. Those little itty bitty frogs from Lunkerhunk. I couldn't cast it.
Oh yeah, I have to put that on like 8-pound fluoro, but if you don't have like a heavy fast rod, you're going to be losing them, because until you put a heavy fast rod in your hands, you don't realize the difference between a medium heavy and a heavy until you have a heavy rod in your hand. And so if you're listening in, you don't have one, you're like, hey, why am I missing my frog bites? That might be the reason, right? You need a broomstick and a fast reel to be peeling in line as fast as you can, get it up out of whatever you're pulling it out of. All right, let's move on here. We're at number 4. We got to pick up speed, folks. Low Life, hit us with your number 4.
Yeah. I want to go with the crank. And
there it is.
Norman
Is that
cranks.
a medium diver?
I like it. Yeah, it's I think a little end. I got middle ends. I like the KVDs and stuff, but this one with the glitter, that's my go-to. Especially when the sun's shining and all the bass is on the bottom.
That's
Love
the
it.
magic for you. Well, you're going to find that in my lineup too.
Yeah,
Jake,
there's a
hit
bigger
us with your. Oh, so are those KVDs like 1.5s and 2.5s?
They look like it.
These are
the lag
Dorman.
is Dorman. All right, I don't think I put eyes on those before. All right.
Yeah. Bill Norman.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
Oh, yep.
I think I have some of those as well. The real weird eyes that are almost like right beside each other on
Here's
top.
the KVDs. Here's the KVDs. Square bills.
Yep. Those are money.
I like them
recognize
too.
them.
Those are money. I like those ones.
Yeah.
All right, Bowfin, hit us with your number 3 and 2, and then we'll do the final round on 1.
3 and 2. Both
Yeah, we're doing 3 and 2.
Got it. Both soft baits.
Okay.
Gotta love the wacky.
Oh, yes.
Gotta love the wacky.
It was
These
just
are
a
the
matter
two
of time
colors.
before someone brought that out.
Yep. So these are the colors I throw. This is a what is this? I think this is I don't know what this is, but it's a just a green pumpkin with a little chartreuse tip on it. I see in like real dark waters. This kind of helps pick the movement up when you shake it. I don't know if it does or not, but I seem like I get more bites on it.
Right.
And then I got the Gary Yamamoto. Obviously, this is by far the best action I've seen. Completely weightless. I use the little O-ring with the offset loop at the top that kind of makes the hook stick this way, instead of in line with the worm.
Okay.
And they seem to work. I've only lost one fish or one worm when I got a bite. But I got the bite. I got the fish. I lost the worm. So I guess that counts, huh? But this one's just I'm not sure if it's black. It looks like it's black, but it's a black back with like a red or a pink underbelly.
Okay.
And it's
that one.
It's money. I love it. It's just enough red to get that attention, and it's got that black back. And they're all unique too. Like some of them are more red, some of them are more black. It's all unique. But this is it. Number 2. What do I get here? Number 2. Just a Texas rig with a creature bait on it. I like the beaver tails.
Okay.
This is a net bait, bait fuel bee bug. It's called. It's got some little appendages here. I just fish it. I think this is a 4-aught hook, 4-aught EWG. And I'll fish it weightless if there's not a lot of cover, or if I'm trying to punch through some stuff. I'll put a little 1/4 ounce, bullet weight on the top. I don't peg it just because it seems like it helps out with the action a little bit. I don't know the complete science on it. I watched a video here, or I learned it somewhere. But this one's a Bama bug color. It's like a black and blue flake. The lighting probably sucks. It's a black and blue flake on one side, and then just a green pumpkin with black flick on the belly. And it just, this is where I caught that 18-incher or on the one that I lost on the center hole of my kayak, and love it.
Did you catch it? Did you really catch it? If it flew down through the hole of your kayak?
I boated it.
All right, you landed it.
I boated it. All right.
People are like coming in halfway through the show, like, "What are you guys talking about?"
I did boat it. Just went through the center hole of the kayak where my pedals go down into.
Love it.
Yep.
All right, so you're saving number 1 for a second. We'll do a final round, and I want to hear from those of you who listen in. What are your top 5? Just kind of throw them in there. I'm curious to read them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as far as like least favorite to favorite, even though they're in your top 5. All right, Bucktail, hit us with your 3 and 2.
Number 3, chatterbait.
Get that thing away from me. I can't catch freaking anything on a chatterbait.
I don't catch a whole lot on them, but for some reason I find catching on them fun. More fun than usual. Basic on colors. I got all of mine are Z-Man original. I need to get some of the mini maxes. I've been hearing a lot of good things about them. Keep it simple, black and blue, and I have a bluegill color. Trailers of similar matching colors. One of my favorite things to do is some of my old spent brush hogs. I'll nip just a little bit off the head and work them on there and use them as a trailer just to, I guess, recycle a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
And then number 2 is Senko. 99.9% of the time, it's either June bug or watermelon red flake. I don't know what it is about the red and watermelon red flake, but that seems to be the big crusher around here, just having that hint of red to them.
For smallmouth?
Smallmouth, largemouth, even some yellow perch and pickerel.
Man, whenever I take GP red fleck into the river, smallmouth cannot keep their lips off them. It was just incredible. Every time I fish Central PA for smallmouth, and man, I only had like 10 of them, and they were ripping through them like candy. But man, they were just on them.
I had a pack of some packs of Yamamotos, but I was burning through them so fast that now I just get the big bulk packs of dingers because, man, I plow through them.
Yep. That's a dinger. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what that is. I couldn't think of the name earlier.
All right. Ben, what do you got for us? 3 and 2.
I'm going to the Ned rig, and I've just been working on that for the last like 2 months because it is just a very good lure if you can do it right. And I've just been having a hard time figuring out which rod to use it on.
Okay.
Typically, I'll go out with like a black and blue one, but it's the green pumpkin that kills it. This is that Strike King one, that little tail at the end.
It's always the green pumpkin. That is the answer for any color, for any time of the year. GP, except when it's stained.
I actually had to change my soft lure for the first time because I wore it out. Normally, I would just get it snagged or I would just change out to something else. But I changed it to this one, and the one day it hit it great. And then after I changed it to this green pumpkin, they didn't want anything to do with it. But it's typically that Yum Dinger.
Okay, there you go.
And 16 ounce, I really like 1/16.
So that's your 3. What's your 2?
2, lipless, and lipless being mostly that cotton cordell.
Ah, all right. You like
really,
solid chrome?
No, I prefer the royal shad, the little purpley looking one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it right now because I lost it. So this is the cotton cordell that I have. And what I actually cut off that front hook.
Oh, I see that now.
And I only replaced the back hook. The hooks on it aren't the best as they go. But I haven't had too many problems with them, so I just cut the front hook off and leave the back one, change the back one.
Is that just to help with trying to stay weedless?
Yeah, I have I have so much vegetation, whether it be new, old, or even just whatever. I have to like use baits that are just constantly swimming and moving.
I like it. Yeah, that's the dream. I wish we could only catch fish on those.
I like it. All right, I got some questions here. I'm going to pull in. Dawn asked, I imagine she's asking me, I think she's asking me, what are your feelings on your Knucklehead team? I don't have feelings yet because I technically don't have a team yet until tomorrow at midnight because it's like neck and neck, and there's still guys and girls out there fishing. And I know for some of them, it only takes one fish or two, and they're in the lead. So I'm pretty pumped about it. I've seen everybody who's in the top 5. Seen everybody who's in the top 10. Some of you are on the show tonight, or over here listening in, and I'd be happy to have any single one of you join me down on Veterans Day weekend. So just remember, even if you don't make, if you're not first, whatever, if you catch a 5-fish limit, you can still come down that weekend and fish Friday for a chance to hop on a team that'll fish on Saturday. So you can still come down, have a good old time. You just got to put 5 fish on the board for any one of these given months. So think about that. Yeah, right. I mean, I need to because it takes 10 hours to get there from Canton, Ohio. So need to leave a little early.
You got the double yak.
10 hours from Canton.
Yeah.
It takes me 10 hours to get to Canton.
Yeah, you're going the wrong way. All right, let's look at some of these top 5s really fast. Hovey Hov, I guess that's how you say his name. Number 5, Rooster Tail. All right. See, I don't break out the rooster until I'm fishing trout. Number 4, Popper. 3, the minnow, like the minnow from the 50s. Like, are you talking like the banjo minnow? from the
Yeah,
50s. That
remember that.
preceded. That was he was talking about something before then. Then the frog, then the power bait worm, midnight shade. Right on. All right, what else we got here? JT. Now, last week when he was on the show, he wouldn't share the juice. Now he's sharing the juice because he's not. I talked to him earlier today. He's not fishing tomorrow, so he can share the juice.
He's
Number
secured his
5,
spot,
get the
yeah.
spinner. 4, finesse jig. 3, stupid tube, and he put a monster on the stupid tube this past week. You guys see that? 2, Senko, of course. We're both in love with the Yamamoto Senkos. Number 4, the jackhammer, and I know through the video last week, I think he has like a black and blue trailer on that bad boy, and so he did pretty good. He was putting up some fish the last week, so love it. And let me see, we have anybody else? Yep, SGT Reed. Oh, he's going backwards. Number 5, finesse jig. Number
Get
4,
jiggy with
swim jig. 3, casting jig. I think I'm picking up on a trend here, guys. Flipping jig and then football jig. The man loves jigging. All right. Let's hear
Sergeant Reed.
Sergeant Reed. Oh, I see SGT. All right, Sergeant Reed, my man. Apologize for that. I like doing like 10 things right now. I got like private chats. I got questions.
Oh, yeah.
I have make sure you guys are still on. Clarence coming in. Number 5, cranks. 4, jerkbait. 3, creature plastics. 2, Senko. And number 1, the Pond Magic spinnerbait. Oh, all right. This is all fascinating. I learn just as much through the comments a lot of times when I do my videos. I probably get 50 to 60 comments a day. And I'm just pulling information from all those comments of fish. And it really just makes me better. So I absolutely love it. All right, TJ, give us your number 3 and your 2. We'll do a final round for number 1 and close out the show tonight.
Right there.
I can tell it's a Texas rig. I just can't hear a word you're saying.
Berkeley power bait.
There you go. And what's your 2? What's your number 2 since you're lagging so hard? All right, we're gonna keep the show moving, TJ. I'm sorry, but you're lagging on this
jig.
There it is.
Jig.
Just the
There's
jig.
a jig.
Jiggins one, I just haven't quite figured out yet.
Blue
You
rock.
know what,
Yes.
Bucktail?
It's one of the reasons I wanted the
with you.
full rod.
Yeah, I cannot. The reason I don't catch fish on it because I don't fish the jig very often because I have so much success on the other deals. But I just don't. I can't figure out jig fishing. I've had people on who are really smart about jig fishing. I don't know. Just not my jam yet. Maybe I'll get into it sometime. Yeah. No, I hear you guys. All right. We're going to do the final round. Number 1. Well, I didn't even do mine. I need to do my
yeah.
a few. So here we go.
Yeah, we only got the mag draft.
Yeah, I only did number 5. Let me do number 4. So this is kind of unique, right? So my number 4 is kind of my secret weapon, and none of you have said it yet.
Was it
this guy? You guys even know what that is? This is
What's
the
it,
depths cover scat. It's a scat bait. And this is the larger size. They're medium and they're small. Is just absolute killer. I just caught a 3-pounder a couple days ago. I threw this in the lily pads, and it's got like a slow kind of fall to it. Right now, I think it's a 5/0 or 6/0 hook on this bad boy. So this is a pretty big bait. But love this guy. And recently, I got in the mail today. Is the what is this thing called? It's the Yamamoto.
Yes.
Yamatanuki.
Yes, Yamatanuki. And I got it all rigged up. I put a little what they call super glue on the top up here, because as you guys can see here, I'm going to put it up to my camera and guys on the podcast. It doesn't have it's kind of flat here. So a lot of times when you pull this out of a mouth, it will like run down the side. So I actually put super glue here because that's a lot of plastic to move. So this is on a 5/0 hook. I don't think you're going to get anything bigger, but since it's such a lot of plastic to move, that's why I have it on such a large hook. I've seen a lot of other videos out there that like put it on a 3/0. I tried a 3/0. I was like, nope. tried a 4/0. I was
It's
like,
not going
nope.
to move.
No. I was like, it's got to be a 5/0. And so this one and this one are kind of in the same category for me, right? You're going to throw them in, and they're just kind of going to do this, and they're going to get hit on the fall or either typically on a pop. So throw it around the cover. So I'm looking forward to maybe see a video coming out here soon. So that's my number 4.
Are you going to fish that similar to like the wacky rig?
No, this is a little bit more patient for me, right? This is kind of I'm going to throw it next to, it's weedless, right? So I imagine you come up on a huge laydown, ton of places to get hooked up. This is where I'm going to let this fall just in a hole in between those 2 branches. I would never throw a wacky rig because I know I'm going to get it hooked up, right? So that's where I'm throwing these guys. Maybe get some distance. I can throw these things a country mile. So I'll throw them way, if I'm fishing really clear water and the bass are picking up that I'm there, and I kind of see them scurrying, and so I can get these pretty far, and I kind of pop them through the water and just kind of slowly go down. So anytime I don't want to get hooked up, but man, this has been very successful for me last year and this year. This is new. Just got in the mail today and we're taking out this weekend. So let you guys know how that kind of pans out. That's my number 4. Number 3 is the crank. I know you guys have been talking about this a little bit, but this is the hollow crawl. I've had 2 mornings this year where I caught 30 plus bass on this guy right here. And I don't know what it is about it, but they were actually killing it. Now, this is a cast cray hollow crawl. I probably could have thrown any type of square bill crankbait and caught the same fish. But man, for some reason, the shine of this hollow crawl, just those 2 days were just picking up bass after bass after bass. And never been a huge fan of these. And I've had a ton of them that were still in the plastic, but I've been dialing into KVDs 1.5 and 2.5. And how I fish these is pre-spawn. We'll throw it out and just do a slow, really slow. I have it on a medium. I actually use on my spinning rod, just an Xfinity stick, which has a lot of bend to it. So whenever I do get that fish, they never really get off. I don't carry a net, and it's kind of my deal. I don't have a net on I just lip everything. I haven't lost a fish in years. I know people get on me, are like, oh, wait till you get that big one. I'd rather lose it for me, because I'm not like huge into tournaments. I do tournaments, but I'm not huge in it. I'd rather lose it on trying to lip it and getting in the boat than I would using a net. But that's my personal preference. If you like using a net, you do you. Fish your own, as they say on the Appalachian Trail, hike your own hike. So you do you and support all you guys are doing there. But this is my number 3. No, number 2. No, that was my number 3. And my number 2 is just like you guys. I always have the Ned rig hooked up. So I use a bunch of different Ned kind of presentations. I've been started moving over to the extra wide gap Ned rig. This is, of course, the Z-Man tickler. Got to keep that away from my other plastics so they'll melt together by tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So I'll either use the tickler. I don't like the crawls as much. I'll put those on a jig head in the rivers, but I don't use them for largemouth. And then I have GP Black Fleck on the TRD. So those are the 2 Neds I use from Z-Man. Then I go over here. If I want a larger one, I'll put on the Ocho from KVD. I think it's called the Ocho. And so these have done really well in the green pumpkin as well. I'll put some red fleck in these, and that'll do well. And then ones I've had a lot of success with the spring has been the cast cray nubs. I don't know if you guys can see that. Something about them. There's a couple colors that he makes. They're made in the USA. It's kind of a local shop to me. And it's a ribbit blang and like treasure chest. Those 2 colors have absolutely been killing it for me. So that is my number 2. I would say 40% of a Senko, right? Let me give you a 5-inch Senko next to there you go. So nothing crazy.
That's less than 3 inches then.
Yeah. So, it's the same exact size as the Z-Man, right? Not a big difference there. So that's my number 2. If I can't find them on my number 1, I'm going to my number 2. So, all right, final round. Number 1. Who hasn't gone yet? We haven't done number 1 yet, right, Jake? You're up.
Nope, I'm up.
Hit us.
Square bill. This
Oh,
is
yes.
since the first time we went out to the strip mines. This is the what I was throwing. It's an Excite XB1 square bill. It's got the rattle. So it's a little I don't even know how to describe this color. I guess it's bluegill color. It's hollow, see through, and I've caught. This is my number 1 confidence bait. If I can't get a bite on anything else, this is what I'm throwing. And I caught little perch on this thing, trolling. I've caught catfish. I've caught everything. Everything that's in these waters up here, pretty much, on this bait right here.
And I got to test
This is my it.
You can catch them. We were fishing together, and we're trying to figure out the pattern. And pop, pop, pop. He was catching them on that square bill. So making it happen.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what you have, Bucktail. What's your number 1? So this would be like the ultimate confidence bait for you. What do you got for us?
Number 1 would be the Texas rig. It was the first rig beyond a simple hook and worm my dad taught me when I was a kid. I like to use Zoom lizards a bit, but they're not my number 1. Them and GP or black with a chartreuse tail. But my absolute number 1 is the baby brush hog. Sometimes I use full-size brush hogs, but baby brush hogs seem to do it. Watermelon red flake. I've recently started adding Bama crawl, I think it's called.
There you go.
And June bug. But most of the time I fish it weightless, probably 90% of the time. And 2 of the lakes I fish up here, as the season starts getting on, they're just loaded with grass. There's tons of lay downs and whatnot. And I'll literally beach my kayak in the grass to keep me still and just start absolutely nitpicking cover. Every little hole in the grass, every little twig sticking down, every stump, every tree in the water. And it is by far my number 1 producer.
Nice.
And retrieving it, that's one you just seems I really have to feel out. Sometimes I'm even doing it just kind of like a slow reel. And then as I'm slow reeling it, give it little pops. One of my favorite things to do is to find holes in the grass and toss it just to the other side of the hole, work it up to the edge till it just falls in that hole, and put just enough tension on the line where I can stick my finger under the line and go like that. And it'll make it twitch just a little bit as it falls down in that hole in the grass. That's
giving them the razzle dazzle. I like it.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
I take some heat for being so reliant on the Texas rig. I guess it's kind of the basic B of lures to some people, kind of like it is with the Senko to other people. But man, it works.
Who cares if it works, right? People try to clown me all the time for my number 1 lure, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's like, hey, why not? If that's what's working for you, and you've dialed in the pattern, you've done the work, and you figured out the retrieve and the colors all day. I don't understand why there's this need to, discount what other people are catching a ridiculous amount of bass on, and in size and in numbers. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why that happens, but it happens.
What are you throwing it on? Are you throwing it on braid to a leader, straight fluoro?
Most of the time it's 10-pound braid to a 10-pound fluoro leader.
10 pounds. Okay.
Yeah. If I'm throwing something with weight, I'll maybe do 15-pound, take it up a little bit, but most of the time 10-pound gets it done. I like to use a nice long leader because after every good fight, cut a little off, shorten it up a little bit. I had a 10-pound fluoro leader break just above the knot on me today, so I wasn't paying attention to that. And EWG usually 3.0. In some situations, I just dig into my tackle box and find the heaviest gauge hook I can find because I'm really trying to reel in a 3-pound fish with 10 pounds of grass on it. So
yeah, I hear you.
I was fishing yesterday, and the cottonwoods were blooming, and the whole top of the lake was just covered in cottonwood. Don't throw anything with a leader, because that little leader knot will just collect every little piece on the surface, and it just gets clogged in your eyelets, and
I hate cottonwood stuff.
horrible. Oh man,
It
there
won't
was
come
3
off
of them.
either, unless you have like
No.
fingernail clippers.
Yeah,
Hate it.
yeah.
JT said his brother just put up 97 inches this month with the Texas rig. So
Love
getting
it.
it just gets it done. Texas rig has
Yeah.
never been my personal go-to. I fished it, I've caught fish on it, but it doesn't like, I don't know, it doesn't perform for me, or maybe I haven't dialed it into the point where it performs for me yet. But all right, love it, love it. Ben, hit us with your number one.
I will, but I'll take kids out all the time fishing.
Yeah.
And that's what I'll try and hook them up with is just that Texas rig because it's the simplest that'll produce anything.
For sure.
Yeah.
But my first one is also a square bill. And I've only come across this, I'd say, in the last like 3 months. But I have it tied up every time, and it's catching everything. And I throw it on a light, ultra light rod, or a medium light, what it was on previously. But it's this little cream lure. This little 1/10 cream lure. It has a bit of a square bill. And you know what? Fish will stop biting on it. I'll put it away, fish something else, and then I'll pull that out later on. Yesterday, I caught my PB on it with 20 inches and 3 pounds, 3.35.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, I was happy about that. The hooks on it are sketchy, though. I would lose fish all the time. I started freaking out once I realized I had something really good. And I had my lipless hanging off the bow. And the line got caught on the treble hooks. I ended up grabbing both rods and trying to net the thing at the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't know where to get these hooks from. They're so small. They're like size 14.
Interesting. All right. So
But
starting to get some themes here. Crankbaits have made the list on just about everybody.
My daughter's rod did an awesome job with this. That was my favorite rod to throw with this lure.
Yeah.
There's hooks you might be able to find. Look at cheap trout spinners. They usually tend to have some tiny little treble hooks on them that would probably work.
Here we go.
That's a good idea.
Got a question from John Goss here. When and where do y'all fish the square bill? Anybody want to take that one?
Shallow wood.
All right. Ben?
I do it. I try and have one on all the time. I throw it all the time, all the year. I have deep ones that go real deep. So like 8-9 feet. So
okay. Bucktail?
I'll give square bills an honorable mention in my tackle box. Usually on the river, just bouncing them off the rocks.
Yep. JT?
Keeping it pretty simple.
When are you pulling that out?
Yeah. Just bouncing off the rocks.
Yeah. So square bill for me, when I go river fishing, I'll get a crawl. I think it's the bombers. Just absolutely destroy for me in the river for smallmouth. They just love it. And so of course we'll do that. But when I'm going for largemouth, I've actually put away the square bill. I typically fish it up to this moment, and then you won't see it again maybe until the fall. I just moved to a bunch of other things. So it's almost like it might have made made my list at least, because in the context of beginning of the season till now, it's what's been slamming it. But I retired just about all of my square bills, or I've broken all the lips on all of them and need to replenish them between now and the fall. But you probably won't see them for me unless I'm river fishing in the middle of around August time. So, but that's just my jam. All right.
Red light's dying for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's JT. I believe you're up, right? Number one. Did he say he's number one? Yeah, he's up, right? I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, he's up. Yeah, he's
all
up.
Right.
Yeah, he's up.
Is that a frog I see?
Ooh,
toad?
Okay.
I don't know what kind it is.
Weighted toad?
Yep.
There's that. Then
Okay.
What,
Number one's
weightless?
frogs. Interesting.
Okay.
Hey, Gramps, is your number one frogs? Is your number one favorite fish?
Is that? But
All right,
Yeah.
my number one is by far. If you guys follow my channel or whatnot, of course, is the wacky rig Senko. Now, I have a bunch of thoughts on this because I've been fishing it for a ton. Because there's a lot of time. We're talking like a long time, and I've started to just realize when it works really well and when it doesn't. So I think I talked about this last show, and we talk a little bit more. I use the wacky rig as a target strategy. So when I throw this into a hole, I'm thinking concentric circles. So wherever this lands, I'm attracting fish probably 10 feet from it. And so I will retrieve, I go tug, pause. I will do that 5 times. If I do not have a fish in 5 tugs and pauses, I do not continue to do that all the way to the kayak. I've found over years that the bite rate significantly decreases after 5 tugs and pauses. So I'll reel it in as fast as I can and do a retarget on my wherever I want to go, the next, usually 10 feet over. And I start picking. A lot of times I'm just cruising down the line or a weed line or whatnot. Also, if I can, which is most of the time, I'll be skipping this bad boy. I just dialed that in to the point where I can put it in holes from my kayak with a side cast that are this big, where those bass a lot of times are holding up or under a dock. And so love the skip. I love it because, of course, and I've had someone wrote me this past week. I was like, I never heard anybody skipping a Senko before. I just love the skittering that it has for that 10 to 15 feet. And it's grabbing all the attention from the second this hits the water. And, bass just, they're used to, chomping on bait fish that are jumping up and making that commotion. So I believe that helps out a lot. Now, I've used a bunch of different brands of the Senko. I've landed, of course, where a lot of people have landed, and which is going to be your Yamamoto's because of the salt content and just how that falls in the water. It's just plain deadly. Now, I've also, the rigging is the problem, right, on the Yamamoto's, right? Because everyone knows high salt content, you might only catch a fish or two before this thing rips off. And they usually rip off after you catch it. The fish, the thing that starts flipping around when you're flipping it in the boat. And as it's flipping around, then it pops off, and you can't grab it fast enough. You're like, holy crap. So now you're thinking of all the ways, how can I keep it on there longer? Because things are 50, 60 cents a pop. I buy the bulk packs. I got 3 of these. I'm going to rip through a ton of them. They're not cheap either. But I got 2 bags of GP Black Fleck, which is always my go-to. And then I have black and blue for stained water, of course. I think Gramps was talking about, DT was talking about that last week. But I've tried all the methods, right? Tried the shrink wrap, put it in the middle. And that kind of works, but it's like really tough and really hard. Sometimes hard to get the hook out of. That's probably my favorite. I recently got some silicone bands. You can kind of lift them up, slide them on. I noticed that when you put the silicone band on, this does not fall as fast and it ruins the action. And so I'll probably stop using those. That was a $20 mistake. Save yourself some money. Although we'll keep it on there longer, I just felt like it could have just stayed at the top of the water column and didn't do the magic. And then some guys will say put some super glue on it that might hold it on there for another fish. You put 1 ring on, you're good. If you put 2 rings on, it'll rip this thing in half. So some of you guys, you see it out there. I'll put the double ring so the hook is not parallel with the worm. Hook is this way. If you do that, within seconds, this thing will just tear with the pressure of those 2 O-rings. And then you have, Jake, what you have. You got the O-ring with it turned sideways. That's probably a really good option as well. I like, and I know a lot of people out there will go, oh, I love the Nico kind of hooks for the wacky rigs. They're a little larger in diameter. I like the smaller ones. I like a 1/0. I think it's a Gamakatsu. Actually, I think they call it their drop shot hook. And that's what I use. And don't have any problems with hookups. So that's kind of my go-to there. But I love this thing. It performs very well for me in Northeast Ohio. And it is definitely my confidence bait. And once you get this dialed in, man, we're not talking like dinks all day either. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pound bass with the wacky worm. And so That is my number one.
You never know what you're gonna get on a wacky rig.
Mhm.
So
Any and all sizes will smash that thing.
it's a ton of fun. I took this, me and my buddies basically fished almost wacky the entire time. We went to Southern Ohio, and between, I think it was 3.5 days, caught over 300 bass, primarily on the wacky rig. And so it was an absolute blast.
How many worms? How many worms did you go through?
I wasn't using primarily the Garys down there. I think I was using, I either use these ones, I go like expensive top of the line, or I'll go to Walmart, buy the crems for 20 cents a worm, and you get a 5-pack for like $1.25. And so it drops it down to half the price. But I typically only throw those in more shallow water because they don't have that action. But once you try the Yamamoto's, and it's actually noticeable, the difference on the catch rate by using these bad boys.
Have you tried this? Have you tried the Slinko?
I haven't. I've seen them. It's pretty large.
I from what I hear, they kind of float. They don't really sink as much.
Yeah, I
So
got plenty of crap that doesn't sink. That stays on the top. A lot of that. I got Z-Man worms that doesn't sink at all. You got to weight them to kind of get them down there. But but I know. I mean, the hook. I know. I think I had Gramps on last week, and he loves the Nico hook. So I mean, they're both gonna work for you. It's just what I personally like. So, man, love it. People clown me all the time on the wacky rig, all the time. I can't tell you, like, oh, if you use the wacky rig, you're only fishing, stocked lakes and blah blah blah. I'm not, guys. I fish, the same waters, every public waters, 99% of the time.
That's basically all we caught fish on the last one we were out was that wacky rig, and you pulled that 18 pluser up.
Yeah, I mean, we were coming up short. The bite was tough that day, right? I mean, you didn't have your catch board, and so you were borrowing mine for the photo. And I just threw my wacky out and let it sink. 10 seconds later, we have an 18-incher. Nailed it on that fall.
I'm over here trying to photo a 13-incher, and he's pulling up an 8. He's like, ah!
Give me a second. And so always let this fall 5 seconds. Sometimes if I'm on a ledge, I'll let it fall for longer, and you'd be surprised. Deadly. Absolutely
5
deadly.
seconds for how deep of a depth?
I typically went shallow water fishing. Typically for me, like 6 feet or less. Wacky rig. If I got to go deeper, I'm using something else. Yeah. All right, folks. Oh, thanks, Gramps. Look at that. You can learn more from Wendell's channel. Look at that. Let me see here. Trying to read through the comments. I was talking for a while. Did you guys see anything that caught your eye that we should talk about? Yeah, Cooler Lid over here trying the VMC Redline hooks. I have some VMC hooks for the wacky. They're actually wacky hooks, as they call them. They have the weed guard, which I don't like, which I end up ripping all of them off because I just didn't like their weed guard for whatever reason. Let me see what else we got here. All right. Dead stick, a wacky rig for Saw Guy. There we go. Rewind Shot asked the question here. Do you use a nail weight on the wacky? Kind of making it a Nico.
I think that's a Nico, yep.
Sometimes, interesting, I will, but I don't put a nail weight because they're expensive, and I think they're just they're just stupid. So I'll actually go get some panhead screws from the hardware store and just kind of screw those into the end and save yourself a whole lot of money. And I forgot, yes, Sergeant Reed, this is actually my number one lure. I don't know if you guys actually made a mistake. This is new in box, Roland Martin's helicopter lure. I'm going to do a video on it. I just tracked down a VHS so I can actually play the VHS in here. And so I'm going to take this out sometime this summer, and we'll see if we can pick up some fish on this bad boy.
Put the retro filter on the video to make it look nice. Yeah.
So we'll see. I actually look forward to like getting that out there and seeing what it does. So we'll see what happens. I found that at a flea market, literally still wrapped in plastic. So, and I have someone from the who's listening in sending me some version 1 and version 2 banjo minnows. So I've never fished with a banjo minnow. I spent 30 minutes watching the infomercial a few days ago. I was like, hey, that action actually looks pretty sick.
Yeah. They've been doing like a big ad campaign on YouTube. I see videos on YouTube, Facebook all the time now about the banjo minnow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're still selling them?
Yeah, it's got the old school, old back in the day, pulling up the fish with it. They're still putting on commercials and stuff. It's like new age, obviously. They're using old clips, but
yeah,
it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
If you want a blast from the past, it's a 30-minute. Go to Retro Bassin, and he has that up there. It's pretty good quality, and it's just a ton of fun. You see, I think, Bill Dance is doing like a pitch on it, and it's so funny. Like we laugh at it now, but back then, right? It was like, oh wow, oh really? Oh, genetic response. Oh, this. You're looking at that thing, and of course they haven't fed that bass in like 3 weeks, and they're throwing something in the tank and it's hitting it. But still, it's a lot of fun to watch. So if you got 30 minutes, want to take a blast from the past, or you're like, what in the world are you talking about? Because it precedes your time. The banjo minnow. And while you're out there, check out the helicopter lure as well. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun just learning a little bit about what everyone else there is using. It's been fun to kind of see kind of the trends. Sorry, TJ, that our connection was a little bad, but man, it was great. If you, we will be here next Tuesday. I'll be getting back from my 4-day fishing trip, and so I will probably have a lot of stories for y'all. I'll see you next Tuesday night at 8:30. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button, get some more replay value out of this. We'll see you same bat time, same bat channel next week. Thanks, gents.
Later, guys.
Have a good one.